Welcome to Counterpoint. I'm Tanya Granick-Allen. What is the one item you just couldn't live without? A few decades ago, the answer might have been a special picture or a book, perhaps the Bible. Nowadays, I think the resounding answer is our smartphone. Technology makes life so convenient, and the smartphone seems to be the key to the Internet of Things, or the IoTs, where everything is connected seamlessly. Whether it's your smart home, smart car, or smart appliance, everything is wireless, smarter, and faster these days, and seems to be controlled by your phone. But just how is all this connected? And are these connections safe for you? And I'm not talking about your privacy, I'm talking about your health. There has been much concern regarding 5G technology, which is being deployed around the world. With 5G, you have smaller cells and closer together, which pump out faster data speeds, prompting much discussion of the safety of all this technology. Cell towers and broadband infrastructure has been the source of hot debate in municipalities for a number of years. There are too many, they are too close together, they are too close to schools. These are just some of the concerns raised. But an Ontario bill passed in the spring of 2021 may end all that local debate. Bill 257 seems to strip Ontario municipalities of their rights when examining the location of new cellular antennas. So what impact is this new law, Bill 257, having? Will Bill 257 pose a risk to the safety of Ontario families? And what are the main concerns with wireless technology in general? Well, joining me now to share his expertise and the research on all of this is Frank Clegg, the former head of Microsoft Canada and now CEO of Canadians for Safe Technology. Frank, thank you so much for joining me again. How are you doing?
Fine, Tanya. Thank you very much for the introduction and the invitation.
Excellent. Well, you know what? I was probably concerned with summer programming and lockdowns and mandates and all sorts of things happening in the spring of 2021 that I missed this bill completely. And it wasn't only until I had gone onto your website because I wanted to see what was happening. And I said, oh, when did this happen? So were we all asleep at the switch?
Well, we actually got in front of it, or tried to a little bit after the second reading. That we missed the first two readings, and we tried to interject between the second and third readings. And we had a bit of a program to get out to our local MPPs. I reached out to our local MPP, Stephen Crawford, who is actually on the committee, and we were just shut down. There was no public discussion. There was no public hearings that we could find. There was no public interaction. There was some limited debate in the House when at the second and third reading, but in terms of a broad announcement or broad invitation for comment, there certainly wasn't anything that we saw or were aware of, and it just seemed to get pushed through pretty aggressively in the House.
Now, what are some of your main concerns with Bill 257, which is now, as I said, law?
Well, Tanya, as you said, in pre-Bill 257, the municipalities had the ability to not agree with the placement of a tower. And in some cases, we were successful in working with the proponent, whether it was Bell, TELUS, or Rogers, to actually find a more acceptable, mutually agreeable spot. Industry Canada has taken the position that the telcos have paid for billions of dollars for the spectrum, and they have the right to fill in the white spots. Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is, in a couple of cases, we had a cell tower that was positioned right beside a school playground, and we got that moved. Another one where they wanted to put it on a commercial property, and we had that situated on the property where it was better. We just finished a situation in Pickering where they actually hadn't done their homework, and my understanding was it was put right beside a gas line. And if the citizens hadn't got involved with the municipality, that tower may have gone up. My understanding of Bill 257 is all of that's taken away. The municipality now can be overridden by the province, which is another area that's very confusing for the municipalities, because this is federally regulated. Industry Canada regulates this and has a set of guidelines and a set of rules. Some of the municipalities have gone out and had worked out agreements with some of the telecommunication companies on how to use some of that. And that could all be eliminated or overridden. So now you've got the municipality involved, you got the province now sticking themselves in the middle, and you got the feds. So, if you want to have an opportunity for lawyers to really get involved and make a lot of money, this could be a great recipe for that as well.
Well, and who knows, maybe there will be a brave municipality who'll step up to the plate and argue those points of jurisdiction in court. Because I think you're right, it is a federally regulated industry, and yet you have all these levels of governments, even school boards chiming in. But, we'll pick this up in just a few moments after this break. Welcome back. We're discussing the recently, or several months ago, passed Ontario Bill 257 that could impact cell towers and all sorts of other broadband towers where you live, maybe near your children's school, and why that might be a concern and what you can do as a citizen. Frank Clegg, thanks again for joining me. I commented already in that first segment that this passed with lightning speed. And again, this is a federal jurisdiction, a federally regulated industry, yet provincially they're bringing in this new legislation. They brought it in. Why do you think it happened so quickly, and why would a province wade into this kind of matter?
I have some theories. Certainly we have seen across North America, the telecommunication industry getting involved at the provincial and the state level to pass this kind of legislation. The forecasts are for every 4G tower that's out there, the telecommunications sector will need to put in 10 5G small cell or larger towers to support it. So unlike 4G, which replaced 3G, 5G is an addition. So if you're a telecommunications company and you're trying to get all of this network implemented and you pay billions of dollars for the right to do that, you want to remove all obstacles. And obstacles are at the municipal level.
Right.
And so what you want to do is to do everything to just be able to continue to roll out these hundreds of thousands of towers we forecast in Canada to support 5G. And so if you want to eliminate one of the obstacles, you eliminate the municipality's involvement. And the jurisdictional body that can do that is the province. Whereas the feds typically don't have that interaction. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was going to say, yeah, I agree with you. And for me, that seems that we're eliminating the grassroots, the citizens' voice, because usually it's the municipality where you're going to be talking to your councillor, complaining about your taxes, your garbage, the things that kind of matter in your functional day-to-day life. Some of the more international affairs related regulations in the federal stage, nobody pays attention to, because you know what? That's in another country somewhere else. I want to know what's happening in my backyard. Some might argue, however, though, that this might be a textbook case of NIMBYism, not in my backyard, that people are just concerned that they want these people who perpetually oppose things at the municipal level to just kind of, you know what, you've had your time, pass it along. Is this a case of NIMBYism, or do you think citizens really have some concerns here with this kind of technology in their backyard?
No, Tanya, this is real. The Health Canada likes to say that the science is still debating. The science isn't debating anymore. There are literally thousands of studies that show harm from radio frequency radiation. Thousands of studies that are peer-reviewed and published in high-quality journals. These are people who are associated with, universities such as Toronto, McGill, Harvard, Yale, Columbia. One who's an expert advisor to the World Health Organization. Another one who was a scientific writer to Al Gore's team that won the Nobel Prize. So that's the quality of these people who are taking the reputational risk to write articles. And the most recent articles are now saying this radiation should be categorized as a category 1, which is in the same level as tobacco and asbestos. So these are the experts now. Health Canada has this, I'm going to use the word game, even though it's not unfair. We've been at this for 9 years now with Health Canada, and they're playing this game. There was some studies published in the 1920s, so 100 years ago, that had this theory that you had to heat tissue to harm it with wireless radiation. Health Canada has been clinging to that science for 100 years now. Wow. And, it's sad to watch. And you have experts like the ones I referenced who are publishing these papers, doing these studies in the lab, doing the analysis, doing the work, and saying, stop with this thermal heating tissue argument. It's passé, it's out of date. Here's 100 studies that show that there is harm. Safety Code 6 is Health Canada's guidelines.
Right.
And so there's hundreds of studies now that show below the guidelines levels for health that Safety Code 6 has to protect us or supposedly protect us. There's 100 studies now that show harm well below those levels.
Okay, so I want to help unpack this for our viewers. We only have about 45 seconds left to commercial. We can talk about this after. What are some of those tangible harms? What is the concern with RF technology, with the electromagnetic fields?
The big one is cancer. There was a study done, commissioned by the National Institute of Health in the US, $25 million study with thousands of rats and mice put in cages that were protected. And they showed clear evidence, which is the highest level of evidence in that category that they use, clear evidence of these rats getting cancer.
Wow.
It's clear evidence of these rats getting DNA damage.
Okay, I want to talk about some of the other concerns. I want to speak more to this and some of the other concerns. We have to take a break, but I think Canadians need to pay attention. You're going to share some very important information in just a few moments. Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion on some of the concerns with all of this wireless technology, all this radio frequency that we seem to be ensconced by. Frank Clegg, you head up an organization called Canadians for Safe Technology. Before the break, you started talking about some of the concerns about this technology. You mentioned cancer. Please expand and tell us what other concerns you have.
Again, it goes back to the peer-reviewed published research. So it's not just my concern, it's a concern by scientists and researchers around the world. Cancer is the one that is probably most concerned. Secondly, there is an impact at the DNA level. So we do know that cells get impacted by this constant that happens at the cellular level. Like these cell phones are checking with the tower, your tablet's checking with the Wi-Fi, whether it's in your home or not. Right. And it's happening at the cellular level. It's kind of like the old water torture technique, but it's happening multiple times per second, and that disrupts the cells. So that can lead to ongoing ADHD in children or Alzheimer's or those sorts of things. We do know there is damage to male sperm. That, again, dozens of peer-reviewed published studies in that environment. We're starting to see now impacts potentially on childhood development because, children are getting exposed to this technology more and more. The average cell phone, when tested against the head, it will penetrate about 10% of an adult's head. A 2-year-old or a 3-year-old child, it will penetrate up to 70% of that child's head. Wow. And the child's head is got more fluid in it because it's still being developed. So not only does the radiation make it through the head, it's actually absorbed for longer periods of time. So we're now starting to see the impact on children in terms of childhood development. There was a study done by the team out of Yale and on mice. They had pregnant mice, and when the mice were born, the way that the dean of the department explained, he said, if these mice were children, we would say they had ADHD. They developed ADHD while they were in pregnancy in the womb of the female mice. So we're seeing these studies repeatedly. Tanya, I want to make the point you asked about this NIMBYism at the beginning. What part of C4ST's mission is to educate people. And what we're saying is, look, we know you're going to accept the technology. We know you're going to use it, but just learn how to use it safely. We work with...
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's what people our viewers are probably itching to hear. Well, how can I not have this Wi-Fi penetrate my child 70% of its head? How do we do this?
There's two factors. The first is distance is your friend. So for every inch that you move, or let's say if I double the distance from that device to my body, the radiation goes down 4 times. If I triple the distance, it goes down 9 times. So keep your phone away from your head. Keep it out of your bra or your suit jacket pocket. Keep it out of your pants pocket. Mm-hmm. When you go home at night, on our website, c4st.org, right at the very top, there's tips for your family, how to keep your family safe. So distance is your friend. Second thing is, when you go back to your residence, whether it's your home, your condo, wherever you live, create that as a safe haven. Have the technology, turn the router off at night, go to your local hardware store, buy a timer that you put on your holiday lights, plug your router into it so that when you're sleeping, the router's turned off. It's not communicating at all.
And how does that help to have it turned off? What's the benefit there?
If there's no power, there's no radiation. The radiation is dead. There is no.
But if you have it running during the day, who cares if it's off at night?
Well, okay, that's a good question. That's an excellent question. If you can run it, like we've never had Wi-Fi in our house. I've been in the technology industry 40 years. People find it amazing. Well, we just run the internet cables throughout the house. It's a pain. It's annoying. Sometimes you have to tear off the baseboard or dig a hole in the wall, but that all can be done. If you can't do that, then at least turn it off. While your body is resting, it repairs, especially children. Their little bodies are healing engines. So if you give them that 8, 10, 12 hours rest and protection at night, they can repair some of the damage if they're exposed at school or in the mall or whatever. So,
right.
so make it a safe haven. Keep your cell phone. Your cell phone should not be in your bedroom at night under any circumstances. If for some reason you need it, put it in airplane mode. Make sure the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi antennas are off, and just use it as an alarm clock, and then get up in the morning and look at it. So again, distance is your friend, and keep the technology as turned off and as away from you can when you're sleeping and resting, and letting your body repair as much as you can.
But sometimes I find even if you've turned off a phone, there are still all these other antennas going. It seems to know, even if you've put on airplane mode. We only have 30 seconds before break, but does it actually make a difference to turn off and put it on airplane mode?
That's one of the antennas. You have to turn off Bluetooth. You have to turn that off. You have to turn Wi-Fi off. Phones now have 3, 4, 5 antennas in them.
Wow, that's a lot of antennas.
Oh yes, there are actually many little towers now because they have these number of antennas. So airplane mode turns off the cell connection to the cell tower. Then you turn off the Wi-Fi. It's all in settings. It's all in the same place.
Okay.
So you just have to go through and just click these buttons to turn off these other antennas.
Welcome back. We're discussing 5G technology, the recently passed Ontario Bill 257 with Frank Clegg, the CEO of Canadians for Safe Technology. Frank, we're going to bring it back to Bill 257. This is now law. So as a citizen, I live in Ontario. I'm kind of concerned that if there's a cell tower that's going to be placed near my home, I will have very few avenues in which to use to appeal something like this. So I do have concerns. So we know what's kind of wrong with Bill 257, some of the concerns that we have. What are some of the misses? Could there have been some opportunities that maybe we could have seen with 257?
Yes, I think so. I think there was a tremendous opportunity for the government, Ontario government, to encourage the industry to use fiber more. Fiber is 100 times faster. It has less impact on the environment. So it consumes up to 10 times less energy on a wired connection than a wireless one. A 5G antenna uses 4 times as much energy as a 4G antenna. And as I mentioned before, there could be up to 10 times as many 5G antennas.
Right.
The security, privacy is a lot more concerning in a wireless investment because in infrastructure because you can hack into it. And the industry is not motivated to put in wired solutions. They make all their money. The telcos make it from their data plans, and the technology industry wants you to buy their latest device, which are all wireless. So
right.
The Ontario government could have put in, and there's also a great paper written by Professor Shockley at the University of Colorado that proves over the long term, an investment in fiber upfront first is actually cheaper in the long term. So the Ontario government could actually have encouraged fiber, funded fiber more, got out to underserved or not served communities in the long term, cheaper, faster, and better, quite frankly. And there's nothing about that in the bill.
My goodness.
And the bill doesn't actually focus on underserved. It's the same thing, these same right of ways and all those things that we're concerned about could happen in an urban area where the industry is already investing. So if you really want to get broadband out there, go to underserved communities, go there fiber first, and work with the industry to go and make that happen.
Yes, so maybe where I live in a rural community in Ontario. We've talked a lot about 5G. Well, not too much. We actually, previously, we've spoken quite a bit. We talked about some of the concerns of this technology. These 5G routers are in children's schools. I know you say we can create a safe home in our homes, like a safe zone.
Yes.
Is it even worth it if we are being bombarded? If these, 4 times or 10 times the amount of cell towers for 5G are required for 4G? Is there any way to actually stop this train?
I think there is. I think certainly in the school situation, the trustees, anybody who's an elected official, you can get their attention. So I would encourage parents to build a team and go in and meet with the trustees and ask to present to council and educate them on the awareness. There's a lot of momentum now coming back again Back when we started C4ST 9 years ago, there was a lot of momentum and concern about schools. I think it's now getting more and more routers. I'll give you one example. I live in Oakville, and we work with one of the local private schools. Now, working with a private school, you can get in, you get to meet the headmaster, and you meet the key 2 donors, and you can make things happen. We convinced them to investigate, and they brought in a building biologist who measured the radiation in the school. And they did some work, preliminary work. They just changed the number of routers. They turned the settings down on the routers, and they reduced the radiation by 90%.
Wow, with just a few things. And they still have wireless.
Still have wireless. Now they're running more fiber in the background. They're running more fiber through the school, but they just, by those 2 things. And we talked to that school about other things they can do. There's no schools in Ontario that I'm aware of, or no school districts that are doing those sorts of things. So let me get back to the other question. What else can you do? Your municipal member of parliament is a person that we have to work with. We've created an appeal called Canada 5G Appeal. If you go to c4st.org, you can see the 5G appeal. We've got over 20,000 signatures now. We clearly feel we need more. I would encourage people to go sign the appeal. There's a box where you can tick that a notice will automatically be sent to your member of parliament telling him or her that you've signed the appeal, and then ask again, and then share that with 2 or 3 friends.
Okay, and what's that website one more time?
Okay, our website is c4st.org.
c4st.org, like with the number 4.
Yes, and if you go to that, and then we link to the appeal page. The appeal page is called 5G Appeal 5G Appeal. It's at .ca. It's easier to find it on the C4ST site. But if people sign that appeal, and they can actually tick another box that says they want to be kept up to date, and then we can inform them about what we're doing. So that's the biggest one. And then secondly, just go meet with your local member of parliament and ask them what they are doing. Are they educated about 5G? Are they aware?
Okay, great. Well, we're going to have you back on another time. We've run out of time, unfortunately. But great speaking with you, Frank.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.